Welcome to Cross-Examine with the Gerbers, where we like to bring our faith, our family, our law practice, and our ministry together in one place. I'm Ken Gerber.
And I'm Megan Gerber. And we have here, you probably recognize him if you're from the Valley, Gibby Parra from Channel 3 TV News. And he is a person, though, outside of work.
I am. And happy birthday, by the way. Happy birthday. I just want to say that because, it's awesome to know you guys. I know we've met before. We haven't had a chance to link up in all the years that we're in there, but we all get pretty busy in doing what we do. And I think we're almost opposite in schedules.
Yeah.
I have a 1:30 wake up call, 1:30
a.m.
a.m.
Sleeping.
Yeah, I figured. And so I get to the station about 3 o'clock in the morning. We get on a call, and that's where we kind of figure out who's going where for the morning. And then the show starts at 4:30. And then that's when folks start waking up little by little. They start stretching it out from 4:30 to 10. And so some watch the whole time. I don't know how, but then others, they start linking in as they wake up.
But I have a big question for you. Who does your makeup, Gibby? Do you do makeup?
No makeup. No makeup. I will tell you, though, my wife wants me to get Botox, and I'm fighting it. I said, I'm not going to do that. And here's the reason why. Honestly, here's the reason why. My grandmother, for years, when my hair started to go gray, wanted me to color my hair, dye my hair.
I love your color.
That's what I told her. But I think what happened was, I think she started to feel older. I started to look
that
older.
could do it.
So I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I did this right when she was about to pass. I colored my hair for her. I did it just so that she could see it, and I did it in front of her. My brother did it in front of her so that she saw that I did it. Because, honestly, it was when I was home visiting, she would hit me up every single time.
And where was
It's
home?
getting great in Yuma. I grew up in Yuma.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I am a criminal. As I tell people, I paroled 1990. Yuma High Criminals. That's the name of the mascot. That was the mascot down in Yuma High. And so it's funny because every time I would go home, it would get grayer and she would be like, oh, it's time. It's time. So finally, when I knew it was getting closer, I sat right there in her room with my brother doing it just to make her happy. I never did it after that again. But my wife's like, you're going to have to do that all the time. I'm like, no, I do not.
Right.
That's it. After it's in, we're getting it like this. I'm not touching it. And unlike my counterparts who use a lot of makeup, when you're in studio, you need it. Those cameras are, when they switch to HD, that's a difference. Now, me, I'm out and about. I'm out in the field. So ain't nobody putting no makeup on, none of that. I go as is. So that's why people recognize me when they come in is when you see what you get. you get what you see. And I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but it's this.
No, but with Botox, you see, like I haven't had Botox in like 9 months, which I'm debating because now they're saying, it can cause certain, I don't know, the whole details with it, but I feel like I'm more expressive. So much so when I get angry, I look at Ken and he goes, stop with that. Stop with the line.
That's true. Well, for me, it's this. It's the one thing I get, and if there's one thing that bugs me, and it doesn't really bug me, but I think it's just because it's who I am. Someone says, hey, you look tired.
Oh.
And that is, and I get it, but that's just me now. It's just who I am now. And I finally just started saying, you know what? I am tired. Been up since 1:30. So yes, I'm tired. Right. You just woke up. I've been up, so I'm tired. But I've kind of accepted it in that case. Every now and then, I think she bought me some kind of cream, an eye cream.
Megan puts that stuff on me all the time.
But the problem is, it may work for like the whatever, but then that means I have to keep doing it like almost right before I go on. It's too much work. I got other things I need to run around. You get what you get. Here I am. I'm here. I'm here.
Have other priorities.
Yeah, I'm not the story. I have a story for you. Right. So here's my voice. You see me long enough for them to hopefully get my name spelled right. The rest of the time, I'm showing you. It's show and tell.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Well, you might be tired. Do you ever just not go to bed?
There were a couple. We used to do this thing when we used to travel around Arizona. And we used to take the Good Morning Arizona on the road. And it was funny. I don't know why we did this or why we started it, but on the last day of the trip. So we were going to be live Friday morning. Our crew call for those were midnight. It was midnight.
Okay.
But we had been on the road for, when we first started, it was a month-long trip. We'd go all over Arizona. Then they went down to 2 weeks at a time. We do like southern Arizona, then northern Arizona. And then they went down to just 1 week at a time. And I remember we did this thing where on the night before our last night, it was called an all-nighter. So after our Thursday shows, we'd drive to the next town and we told everybody, go nap, go sleep, because we are going to go out. And then after we're done going out, we're going straight to work, and it's an all-nighter. There's no going to sleep here. There's no, and looking back at it now is kind of crazy, but it was worth it though, because that was our bonding moment. Like the fact that we do something called Field Trip Friday. Right.
Okay.
But now to me, it's like a glorified live shot now. It's like we go to a location and we do 1 or 2 live. It's not like what we used to do. We used to show people at home what Arizona was about.
Yeah.
Right.
When you hear Arizona's family, I mean, we showed you small little towns that you probably never heard of, but how beautiful they were over in Patagonia down south or places up north. And we'd go into these little nooks and crannies. And Dan Davis was probably one of my favorites at that. He would go to the town of Mare and find something interesting, and we'd bring that town alive. And to me, that is what I used to love these trips for. And people would remember that, because if you think about it,
that's so interesting.
If you grow up in rural Arizona, you're going to move to a couple of places as you get older to go to school, Phoenix, the Valley being one of them. And that's why it was important to do that. And then later on when they grow up, I remember you when I was a kid in Safford and you guys came to visit.
Right.
That was it.
How come they stopped doing that?
Money. I think money. I think, and then what happens is, so you have to remember a little history on Channel 3. It was owned by Governor McFarland. Governor McFarland of Arizona started Channel 3 in the 50s. As he got older, he then gave it to his daughter, Jewel Lewis, who then married a farmer out of Coolidge. They ran Channel 3. It was called Mac America. And we were locally owned. And because of that, there were no sister stations.
Right.
So when something would happen, anything around the world, around the country, we were responsible for our own thing, and we would get sent there. So think about it. OJ trial, we were there. 9/11, we were there. Oklahoma City bombing, we were there. Mike Watkis the other day posted when we went over to Boulder, Colorado, or not Boulder, it was Aurora, Colorado, remember the Batman shooting in the movie theater?
Yes, I remember that.
Sure.
We were there, and what I reminded Mike about that time was this is when technology started to change. We had these little backpacks that we were using to go live. Before, we had sat trucks, and we had microwave trucks. But this new technology kicked in, and I remember it because we came right off the plane into our rental, and I set up the camera in the back seat of our rental, pointing it at Mike Watkis, as he then went live for our 5 o'clock news saying, hey, we just landed in Colorado. We are on our way to the area of this shooting. As we were driving to this location. I mean, talk about technology. Like it was like it had never been seen.
Truly.
So when I go back and I think about January will be 32 years for me at Arizona's family.
Congratulations.
When you think about what's happened in those 30 years, I either had a big part of it or was a part of it, or it was my camera that kind of showed people what was happening in these areas. And that, you don't think about it at the time because you're working.
Sure.
But at the end, when people ask you or when you reflect on it, you look back and you're like, that was wild. That's wild. Like you like I'm the one, like you probably watched that at home, and I'm the one who showed you that video. I showed you the video of Michael Jackson's home right shortly after they rushed it, after he passed away, and there are people coming in and out.
You literally on the scene with the camera in your hand,
with the camera in hand, showing you, here it is. While you're watching it, it's my camera showing you, oh, look, here's people coming in and out of the Jackson home.
So what would you say the story that has affected you the most in your life? Could you pick one?
If there was one that would have affected my life, it's going to be one that wasn't popular. Okay. And the reason why I say this is this was a shooting that happened because a mom didn't want her little girls to be with dad.
Oh, gosh.
So she killed her little girls. The reason why it affected me was back in the days, the number one shot that we couldn't leave the scene to was the gurney shot. No matter what it was, we would spend all day, sometimes an 8-hour shift, waiting for the gurney to be removed. And this so happened that there were these small little body bags.
Oh, no.
The problem is the aunt then came over later on that day and brought pictures of these girls. And me being the cameraman, I would zoom in to focus and get these these pictures that we're going to show of these little girls. That stayed with me for about 2 weeks. And when I say that, that means every time I went to sleep, I would dream. But in my dream, it wasn't just the body bags that were going in, it was the actual girls in this because of me focusing in on the pictures. And so they got mixed together. So I finally asked for a day off, and Good Morning Arizona had just started. It was about a week in. And I got up one morning and I'm watching Royal Norman. He is at a restaurant, and he is live at a restaurant showing off this restaurant. That's all he did all morning long. He would do weather, but he's showing this restaurant off. And I had two options. I was either going to quit, find something else to do, or I went into my boss that following Monday, said, hey, I want to work Good Morning Arizona. He looked at me, he goes, you want to get up at 3 o'clock? Because at that time, I think the show started at 6 a.m. He goes, you want to get up at 3 o'clock? I go, here's the deal. If I don't get on to something positive, then I'm not doing this anymore. I think I've had it. I've been trying to shake this dream. I was praying. I was doing everything I could, but it couldn't escape me. But I had to learn a big lesson then of, why am I doing this? Why am I doing these stories?
Right.
And I had to readjust. So they then put me on Good Morning Arizona. I got to do the fun stuff, but I still had to, every now and then, depending on who I worked with, had to cover these stories. So then I had to pivot and ask myself, why am I doing these? Am I helping somebody? Am I spreading the message to go in? So I had to refocus. And I think that was the time when I finally realized, okay, this is no longer, I couldn't get personal with whatever it was that I was doing. I had to figure out, and I had to keep telling myself, I'm helping someone who's watching this or someone who's going in. I'm either going to help save them time if it's a traffic jam. I'm going to let them know, hey, there's nothing to worry about in your neighborhood. Right. There's got to be some positive out of this that I can show you or help you. And it was the only way I could continue to do my job.
And I'm sure you had to ask God why many times.
I had to. And I still do to this day, because there's still some times where we talk about it all the time. Like, you have to always ask God, why is this happening? Yeah. Why? And sometimes the answers don't come right away.
No, they don't.
You might not know it here, but once we get to heaven, right?
And sometimes it's through somebody else.
Oh, true.
Somebody else will bring it to you. Or even if you go in, somebody else will bring the answer that you were looking for. Okay. But the problem is sometimes our ears are closed. You know what I mean? Like, we're not ready to hear it. We're not, like, how many times, like, I tell people this all the time. I go through the Bible in a year every day. So before I go into work, I do my devotionals on my way into work, and I'm listening, and I come in, and then but every time that I've done this now over the last 10 years, a different piece of the Bible comes up to me. I go, I didn't know this was in the Bible. But I've listened to it over 10 years, and you're like, but it's because that's not what was going through my life at the time.
You weren't ready to hear it.
And there's sometimes things get stuck in your heart, and you're like, why is that? Has nothing to do with me. Then you get to work, and someone says to you, hey, you still go to Bible study? You still go, man, I've been having this problem at home. You're like, hey, I got a word for you real quick. What do you mean? Yes. I go, well, on my way in, as I was listening to the word, this has nothing to do with me, but I'm going to share something with you. And I shared the word with a coworker. He starts crying because it was something he was going through with him and his family. And that's the first time that I learned, you know what? I've been doing this all wrong. Not only do I have to listen and join this word, I have to share it.
Amen.
And when a word is not for me, that word has to be shared with someone because it's probably for them.
Right.
And it was the first time I realized
that's the Great Commission.
I need to share this word with you. And believe me, those change your life just as much when you're able to help somebody out with the word and you're able to lean them with something that, again, may not have nothing. And it may one day, because I might be going through it at that time. And then I'll remember I have it in my pocket. Right. But a lot of times sharing that and understanding that. But there are a lot of times that I even have more questions that I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. It's not, it doesn't, with us, I'm in the media, so a lot of times I ask a lot of questions and I'm like, it's not mathing. But I have to keep my faith.
Absolutely.
And my faith is what's going to help me understand it one day. And it's going to keep coming in because like I said, I'll read it. I understand it. I'm like, it's not adding up. And I'll start asking a lot of questions. And, again, sometimes I've also known that there may not be an answer for it.
And have you always been a Christian or is there a certain
I grew up always Christian in the sense that I grew up in the Catholic faith. I did all my sacraments Catholic.
Me too.
When I got together with my wife, she had ran into a former intern that I ran into out on a shoot, Subin Wadsworth, and you might know her husband, Andre Wadsworth.
Okay, sure.
He was the number 3 pick for the Arizona Cardinals behind Ryan Leaf and Peyton Manning, or I should say Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf. His career wasn't as great for the Cardinals because he was always injured. He had 20-something knee injuries that he had to fix, but at Florida State, he was a beast. But when he became a Cardinal, he started a Bible study. And through that Bible study for the Arizona Cardinals, it became Desert Life Church. It turned into a church. So it was a Bible study first. It then became Desert Life. Well, I ran into them out on something I was doing. Subin then invites my wife to church. My wife would go to a Christian church at that time. And she goes, I'll go in a heartbeat. That's how I grew up. But I don't know if Gibby can go. Gibby grew up Catholic. And so Subin comes up to me and says, hey, Gib, I invited your wife to church. Would you come? And I said, of course I'll come. I mean, to me, having faith, regardless of what it is, if you believe in God, then I'm there with you.
Amen.
I love that.
And then I'm willing,
Fantastic.
and I'm willing to go there because if you think about it, when you think of Catholic, what does that mean? That's universal.
Well, it's funny because when I was Catholic and you heard about the Christian big churches, it was always like they're Bible thumpers. But I mean, I felt like and now I'm, just in general, have the love of the Lord and Jesus. And I don't know, my Jack always is saying, Mom, you're this, you're that. I don't know. But with that though, I feel like there's so much against these Bible thumping churches, which there's nothing wrong with thumping your Bible and knowing your Bible.
And I think it's needed though, right? Like so like for instance, right? And like in the Catholic Church, there's some who don't understand about a relationship or some that don't. Some need it though. Some need to just go in there, be told what to do, how to do it and go in. But if they get the message that way.
Amen. Right.
However you get it.
The understanding is how do you get it and are you going in? And then you have to set that example as well. I had another coworker who he married his wife, Mormon. He's Catholic. And when they had their children, she said, all right, here's the deal. We can raise them Catholic, but that means you have to get up every Sunday and take them to church, or we can raise them Mormon and then I'll take them.
Okay.
And because he didn't want to get up and take them to church on Sunday because Sunday was football Sunday, he said, okay, they're going to be Mormon.
Yeah, typical guy response.
And but they tell you right in the church, a lot of times the women, when it should be the men who they say should be the leaders and the foundation, but it was the women who took that lead. And brought them up and helped them out. Well, my grandmother, my mother, strong in their faith all the time and it had to set in. The best part is understanding when I remember when I got together with my wife, I was telling my grandmother, I go, hey, but she goes to a Christian. She goes, we're Christian, right? I go, I know, Grandma. I just want to let you know that it's in there. And so my grandma broke it all down for me and said to me, listen, if you guys together are going to grow with God, then I'm all for it.
Oh, that's great.
And that's when I started to go to, it was Desert Life Church. And then years later, we brought in Pastor Travis, who is the chaplain for the Phoenix Suns. He was also the chaplain for the Kansas City Royals and the Oakland A's for spring training. And they created Impact Church. And that's where I go now. That is now on Thunderbird and Scottsdale Road.
Okay.
We used to be in the Scottsdale Air Park. And it was a smaller church. It was in there. And I have to tell you guys, I had never been to praise and worship before.
Oh,
nor had I ever seen anybody fall out. And one of my first times going to church, they're falling out. And you have to remember, I'm listening to music I don't understand what praise and worship is at this time.
Right.
It's music. And I didn't understand why people were falling out. And I looked over to my wife. I said, is this normal?
You're like, are they okay? Do I need to get the camera?
And she says,
let's get a story going.
She says, shh, you know what I mean? She goes, pray. And I go, what do you mean pray? She goes, during this time, you may be hearing music, but I just need you to pray. You pray however you want to pray. We're praying for our families. Pray for your grandmother. Pray for your friends. This is your time to pray. Not understanding what praise and worship was at that time. So it wasn't until the first time that praise and worship hit me. And I think it was the Revelation song. You remember the Revelation song? There's a Revelation song. And when you listen to that song, it hit me. I don't know why, but it was really powerful. And it finally clicked what I'm supposed to be doing, doing praise and worship. And I remember my wife used to say that. I go, hey, this person's pretty good. She goes, they're just singing. I go, what do you mean they're just singing? Well, they're not really praising and they're not really worshiping. Like you could tell when somebody praises and worships because honestly, it's a deep prayer and they bring you into prayer along with them to get you into that. And now it's different, right? Now, because church starts then, it doesn't start when the pastor goes up. You should already be in. And I think, and so there were a lot of differences. And believe me, once my eyes started to open up, I started to feel a lot better. I started to understand a little bit more. Then I started to understand there were songs that my grandmother would sing to me growing up were prayers.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand because she was singing them in Spanish, but then I would read it in English and I'd be like, that's the song. Yeah. She was singing that song to me, the Lamb of Life. Like, you know what I mean? But in Spanish, Cordero de Dios. I'm like, that's what she's talking about. You take away, it says, que quitas el pecado del mundo. I'm like, man, that's a verse. So you found the similarities and you found the same thing and you understood why. And I still like to go to both, to be honest with you. Even though I go to Impact whenever there's a wedding or a funeral and I'm there at a Catholic church, I'm sitting there and I get and now I know even more because all of a sudden during the first reading or the second reading, now I understand the reading. I already know where they're going to go with it, or I know where they're pulling it from. And where before I wouldn't, I just go along with them. Like, hey, what are we doing today?
Right.
Well, and I think we've talked about it before. I grew up Jewish, and so there are a lot of similarities between the Jewish faith and being raised Catholic, where you go and it's a lot of stand up, sit down, do this, do that, drink this, eat that. And there's not the teaching and really the praise and worship and bringing it into your heart and bringing it out of you at the same time. And so, yeah, we have a similar type of thing with that. And I think that's where you have to get to. It's very important to realize why we're actually there.
And it was taboo for you to become Christian, for sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But we're almost there, right? I mean, because if you think about it, if you think about the Old Testament and what we were, I mean, that's why when the more you look at it and you go in, taboo and one, but at the same time, Paul.
Yeah.
Who wrote 2/3 of the New Testament was
you
know what I mean, and a prosecutor, but for me, that's the part I think that helps me. So when people see and they see that I've been doing this a long time and they wonder how, if I'm at a deadly shooting every day or a car accident involving pedestrians where it turns out deadly or involving kids,
right?
How am I able to do this? Well, it's the faith that keeps me based and keeps me centered.
Absolutely.
And that part honestly carries me now.
Yeah.
We talk about that with our practice of law too. When we get those cases from people who have been hurt or lost loved ones in accidents, it's people ask us, how do you deal with it? And you have to go back to your faith. And I
see a picture of, somebody that's maybe Jack's age. And I think, wow, like you just think, thank God, God is who he is and sent Jesus and there is an afterlife that he has for us. And you just pray that they also knew Jesus.
Yeah. And pray upon prayers, know, and I've actually done that a handful of times when I've been out on a scene and it's come upon me where the word is like, hey, you need to pray for this person. And I've asked them, hey, can I pray for you real quick? And, I've never been one to say that I'm big on prayers or I can pray. I'm in there, but it's as simple as God lead me, God trust me, God show me the way. People don't understand. It's that simple. Like it's not. You don't have to come up and sound like a pastor, sound like a sermon.
No.
It's. I see that this woman is hurting. Please put your hands on her. Please help her out of this situation. Like it's that simple. And you're right though, because even like when you think about what I do for a living, with the way the world is, and even our country right now is so divided 50-50. You mentioned saying it's okay to be white. Of course it is.
Yeah.
When you think about it, we, regardless of what color we are human beings. And it tells you what is the first two, right? Where they asked him, God, what are the two important? He said, love God with all your mind, your heart, and your soul. And the second one is just like it. Love your neighbor as yourself.
We all have the same maker.
And here's the crazy part. I always tell people this. I don't know about y'all, but I love me some Gibby. I love myself.
I love it.
So if I'm supposed to hate somebody or I'm supposed to love somebody like I love me, that means the people that I hate too. That means the people who have hurt me.
That's the tough one.
The people that have done me wrong. But I will tell you this, though. I'm on my second marriage. My first marriage didn't go as planned. I thought I was going to be like my parents. I was going to be with and my grandparents and be there for a long time. And I did not want to get divorced. And that just wasn't in the books. But when going through Bible study and going to church, what I finally realized was forgiveness. The power of forgiveness.
That's a tough one.
And I have to tell you, it's harder than, okay, I forgive you.
Right.
Or someone saying they're sorry. Like there's more. You have to truly learn how to forgive someone. And I remember calling my ex-wife and telling her, hey, and I don't drink. So me calling her, I go, I don't drink. I'm not drunk. But I want to tell you that I'm sorry. I'm sorry for treating you the way that I did. I'm sorry that our marriage didn't work out. I am sorry that I put you through our marriage and that it didn't work out. But at the same time, I also forgive you. And when I said that part, she's like, "Oh, forgive you."
Then it blows up big.
What did I do? And
Yeah.
And the thing is she was upset. And 2 weeks later, she calls me back. She goes, you know what? I forgive you too.
Oh, I love that.
Thank you for doing it. What it did for both of us.
Right.
It lifted the weight off that now it allowed me to then love my now wife the way that I can. It allowed me to then build a relationship because back then it was more, I'm not going to go there with that. I wasn't ready for that.
Right.
But honestly, it lifted everything up. And now when I let people know about the power of and then it works with everything else. That was the first time I got to see it, but then it started to work with people who do you wrong, people who hurt you, people who come in. Those are the things, and understanding that, this dream that I told you guys about,
right?
Same thing. I didn't know then that I was supposed to turn around and say, hey, you know what, Lord, I forgive that woman for doing that to her kids. I know they're in a better place. I know they're with you now. Now I can use that story as I have now to show people that this is where it was my breaking point. And now it's a good message that I can allow people to know. And when new photographers come in, when new people come in, and I could see it in their faces, that they're not used to that. And I'm going to tell you right now, our generation, this young generation that's coming up, they are not used to that.
No.
And it is,
right.
And even I am a manager and I manage the photographers now, and being able to lead them and explain to them, there's certain ways you have to talk to them now. It's not like what it used to be before. It's not the tough love like it used to be. Now I still have some older guys who have been with me for the ride for the 30 plus years, that they know that if I give them a certain look or I give them a certain way, that they, okay, this guy means business. Right. But for the younger generation, it's the explanation of it. And here's the hard part. I'm faith-based. I have been, and how do you incorporate that?
Yes, exactly. That's what.
And how do you incorporate that? So let's just put it this way. I always tote that line and may even get in trouble several times over because they'll tell me you're not supposed to do that. And I'm like, well, if they want to be helped, it's the only way it's going to happen.
Right.
So at this point, I may probably get in trouble because I've gone that route. But I think what happens though is a lot of these guys understand me. They know who I am. I don't hide it. So when they come to reach out for me and I say to me, I go, hold on, are you asking me as your boss, or are you talking to me as Gibby as a friend?
Yeah.
I go, because if we're talking as a friend, come over here. I want to talk to you about something and I
Sure.
want to let you know. And then you almost have to do that, and you have to take it away from work. And it's unfortunate that that's the case.
Right.
But it's the world we live in now, because how you say, what you do.
It's all confused, right?
Well, I'm a hugger.
Yeah,
Okay.
me too. Yeah.
You saw I walked in.
Oh, yeah.
If you hug, I'm a hugger.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got called into the principal's office because I was told that, hey, this person knows that you didn't mean anything by it, but don't go hugging people anymore. I go, if I don't do that, people are going to know that there's something wrong.
Right, because that's not who you
you.
are.
Right. And I said, but if that's what it takes, cool. I don't want to offend that person.
Right.
Please apologize to that person, because you know that as soon as I leave the principal's office, the national HR director is walking by, and she gives me a big hug. I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up. She gives me this huge hug, and I'm like, I was just told not to.
Not to hug.
Like I was just, but you like, were they going to send me to her office? Like,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Right.
And so I stopped, and I got questioned. A lot of people who were like, hey, are you okay? Have you been okay? Is everything? I go, yeah. Why? What's going on? Well, I haven't had a Gibby hug today, or I haven't had that. Oh, I'm kind of
In trouble.
been asked not to. And I get it, right? Because you don't want to offend anybody.
know.
You don't want to
Yeah.
offend. But it makes you stop being you. And finally, people just said, you know what? I'm getting a hug. I don't care what it is. I say, well, if you walk up to me and hug me, I'm not going to stop you from hugging me. But and that's the sad part is, that person probably needs to be hugged. And I don't know.
There's a physiological thing that happens
There's
with hugs.
something that and I don't know what that person went through, and maybe it's a trauma for them. But and I wish I could pray for that person, which I have, unknowingly and not knowing them. Just say, man, I hope they're cool. I hope that but I respect their wishes, and I understand that, and I've kept it that way. But those who know me, those who see me, and then those are my competitors out on a street or whoever it is. If you see me, Gibby's giving you a hug. And the very next day I'm live. It was opening day for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
As I'm going live, and Derek Hall walks up, the president of the Diamondbacks. And what does he do live on air?
Hugs you.
He gives me a hug. I'm glad that I'm able to do that and to show people that I'm that. But like I said, again, I understand. And that's why I say, like, the generation that's coming up, I have to understand them, and I have to learn along with them.
Sure.
To be able to understand them the most. Now that I'm in a manager role, I have to learn what that is.
Oh, absolutely.
As hard as it may be, it's what keeps us going as far as being able to do this year after year. I need to survive. I need to figure it out. But as long as they don't ask me to stop with my faith, then I think I would leave, right?
Yeah.
Because then
you can't live like that.
So and I don't think they ever would, because it's just like anything else. You can't ask somebody not to do that, but at the same time they know. Like everybody knows. Like we had a situation where we started to bring in these photographers in to have meetings to talk about, because there's a lot of crazy stuff they go through, and they see a lot of stuff out on the streets, and it was just to get to know them, understand them, and honestly, it was eye-opening to see the way other people view what we do on a daily basis, because I didn't see it that way. And
So how do they see it?
not the way I did the day that I saw those two girls. They didn't want to come back to work anymore. They were
It's a
calling
profound
out.
impact.
They were calling out the next day. They were impacted by one day, and that was enough to say, I'm not coming to work the next day, and I need this. And so I would like to tell them, and then when they reach out, I would like to tell them, hey, here's what I'd like to do for you. One, I want to pray for you. Two, man, keep the faith because this is what's going to help guide you.
Sure.
It helped me. The problem is, how do I know, that's not going to offend them and that's not going to get me called back into the principal's office?
Yeah, it's a fine line that you have to walk, honestly, because so many people, you talk about the term Bible thumpers, you talk about, Christians and sharing their faith. And I felt this growing up. You feel like somebody is being judgmental and trying to impose their ideas on you. And we're not. We're trying to love them and we're trying to lead them and trying to bring the word of God to them without the judgment. And so it's this really fine line that you have to walk.
Yeah, people who know me, I use a lot of sports analogies. So I basically grab a Bible verse or I grab that into a sports analogy and kind of use that into
love it.
Almost, it's one of those, let's face it. Go read a self-help book. Go read, all these books that are making money, that are going in here with all these great ideas on how to help you go in. Those who don't know will understand that, hey, this person's a genius.
Right.
But those of us who know,
right,
they got that out of the Bible.
Yeah.
Yes.
The what's the golden rule that people call the do it to others as you would like to do it to you. But that's, that's God told you that. But people want to use it as the golden rule. All right, cool. But God told you to do that. I mean, God told you to, to love your neighbor as yourself. Definitely. But all right, go ahead.
Ken has a golden rule about people.
My golden rule.
Or not golden rule. You always say they have a high pain tolerance.
Oh, I have kind of universal truths that I talk about with people. Everybody thinks they've got a great sense of humor. Everybody thinks they have a high pain tolerance. And sadly, everybody thinks that they have it harder than everybody else. And this victim mentality. And like you're saying, we know that faith is really the way to handle those kinds of things, to take that to God and to get you through anything that you're going through. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand that.
It's got to be hard for you guys. I mean, being in law, right? And being in the system in the way it is, that's a battle in itself.
Yeah.
It's crazy because I talk about car pedestrian accidents, or we go in, I'm at the start of it. You guys are at the back end of it.
Yeah, we're handling those cases for years on end after the story's over. Yeah.
And years on end. And people don't realize that there's more to it. I always tell people like drownings, right? But people all of a sudden hear near drowning and they think, oh my God, good, thank God they made it. I feel more bad for the near drownings because have you seen what happens
Yes.
to those who don't make it?
No,
Yeah, the recovery is tremendous.
They may have made it, but they may be brain dead. They may have made it, but they're not all functioning back in. There's a place over in South Phoenix. As a matter of fact, it was the same place where the gentleman got busted for impregnating the one gal who was in the bed for years. Remember?
Right.
Yes, I remember.
So that place houses a lot of near drownings. And here's what happens. Families go there for the first year, for the second year.
Right.
All of a sudden, the third year, the visits are less. By the fourth year, no one's going to visit. By the fifth, they're almost forgotten now.
Right.
And the reason why I found out about this was Brenda Warner, Kurt Warner's wife, was going down there when he was playing for the Cardinals. She would go down to this place and read to them. Her and a bunch of her friends would go down there and read to these they're forgotten.
That's so sad.
And you don't realize it because you hear that they made it. Oh, great. Everything's great.
It's
not necessarily for a lot of them. A lot of them now have an uphill battle and we don't see that and we don't go in. And that's why those messages of it, like if I covered a drowning, then part of my story for that day would be, hey, remember, the fire department has information for you. Remember that not to watch them all the time. Like you say it all the time. When it starts to get hot, watch your kids around water. Watch your kids around water.
Right.
Please pull. There's people who will buy you a fence if you need a fence around that pool or and yet the very next day, there's 2 drownings get called out.
There's that one really sad one that they're all talking about down in Chandler with that.
Yes, with the social media.
Yes, yeah. He was trying to swim for 2 full minutes and then was at the bottom. I mean, it just And then what makes me mad is on TikTok constantly, people are trying to, have their own stories about it all the time. And I'm like, quit trying to make money off of this poor family that clearly both of those parents wishes they could go back in time. Nobody wishes that, and people get so angry and judgmental. And the thing is, we can prevent these things, and not always, because things happen too.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? A lot of people don't realize too. And I was, when I was a kid, I was a lifeguard and taught swimming and all that. And so you get all that training. And what a lot of people don't realize, even when they're with the kids at the pool, you've got to be watching them, because everybody's waiting for the splash. Most often when kids go in the water, it's not a splash that they've fallen in. They're leaning over and they just slip below the surface and there's no sound. So you've really got to be on guard, watching them at all times.
And we say that, right? When we put it out there, we do it in every which way possible. We're live all morning long. We hit it hard. I never thought I had to tell people that they couldn't put their barbecue inside their house to keep them warm.
Oh, no.
Oh, my gosh. What?
A whole family was either sick or passed away from somebody trying to keep their house warm by putting their barbecue grill inside the house. You can't make those things up.
No.
So how do you fix that? How do you do that? And you see them. You see the fire department knocking on doors, telling people, hey, and they're scared. They don't want to open the door. And they're like, hey, no, we want to switch out your smoke detectors.
Right.
And having a smoke detector. You'll see times their homes. Now, the fire department at whatever city they go to, they are fast. They get called out.
Oh, yeah.
They are there in a hurry. Now, whenever you see a house that is burnt down, one, it was early in the morning that no one saw it at all. But then that means they had no smoke detectors, because had they had a smoke detector, that wakes the person up. They then call, they get everybody out of the house.
Right.
The only ones that you'll see that are completely gone before they get there are maybe mobile homes, because those go up in a hurry. I don't care what they go in there. But if you see a house, any type of home, and that thing has a lot of damage to it, I can almost tell you that there were no smoke detectors in there. The other one that a lot of the fire departments deal with are like hoarding. And they can't even say hoarding anymore.
No, I've seen those. Oh, they can't?
They got in trouble. They started saying
abusive.
hoarding, and they were saying that the house was hard to get into, which was code for they were, but there are some times that they can't even make it into it. And then later on, they'll find, oh man, there was a person in here. Because that's their first thing. The first thing they do is they go into a home to make sure that they got everybody out okay. And then they go back into fighting whatever fire it is and how they do it. I mean, they're so great at their job and they understand what they're doing. The problem is when they're dealing with these obstacles all the time, then we have to put these messages out, and we see it all the time, and we know that that's their message. We know they want to go in. We want to tell people like, hey, here's the message. Like, hey, be careful, guys. Or like right now in the summertime, what's the first thing we tell people who live out when there's a desert, their desert landscape? Give yourself 20, 30 feet. Right. And why do they do it? The next thing you know, there's a home that got burnt down, and you're like, but you look at the house and you look at where it was. Well, the brush went all the way up.
Oh, yeah.
To the home.
Yeah.
And now it jumps lines and, so there's a lot of things where, okay, how do we do this? How do we get that message across? How do we better move forward? And a lot of times you'll see those stories. I know a lot of times we do things, hopefully that's the message to get to people. And then you feel a little bit better saying, okay, I'm hoping that at least one person watched this.
Yeah.
If one person watched this, then cool. If I help somebody from getting stuck in this traffic all morning long, then that's good with me.
But what's cool is you're like the encyclopedia of what to do and what not to do, because you've been to them all. You talk to a fireman and you're like, oh, don't do this. You talk to a police officer, don't do this. You talk to a you have all that information.
I annoy my wife with that all the time because, the fans that we have in the bathrooms?
Yeah.
Those are the number one causes of fires.
I've heard something about.
I didn't know that.
The thing is, they're small little motors,
right?
And they leave them on while that little motor, as it's turning, starts to heat up.
Gotcha.
Oh,
so if it's dusty or if it's in there, it heats up so much that it then goes into attic. It then becomes an attic fire. You have no idea because you're sleeping. and it starts to spread. And it isn't until that smoke comes in, hits one of your smoke detectors. And sometimes, like I said, if you have a smoke detector, it's catching on quick. You hear it, they get there, and they come in. It was a bathroom fan, and there's damage that they have to repair to that because they got to knock the hole in there. And the only time that now that they have tile roofs, they don't go on top of the roofs anymore with tile roofs. But back in the days with the shingled roof, they would cut out that rectangle box to vent out the attic. And so you'd see them, one person would go up there, vent out the attic, let all the smoke get out, and then they could better see where this is coming from.
Right.
So that's PSA. Turn off your bathroom fans or don't use them at all. According to firefighters, they'll tell you they don't want you to use it. You're going to have to get some poopery or something like that.
I was just going to say.
Yeah, that's magic.
You
just
probably go around the house and go, who turned the fan on?
Yeah, who left this on? Who's in? And then when the kids got older, and I bet you did this with Jack, and when the kids got older, I'm driving. I went through every room to make sure that they were home. You make sure they're home. Right. You make sure they're in. And if they were gone, they stayed at a friend's house. There's nothing like driving to work in the morning and seeing a car that looks like your child's car.
Oh, no.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
In an accident.
Yeah.
Or in this, and you're like, I checked right before I left. They were sleeping. They were asleep. Like those are the things that you always worry about. And that has happened. I've been doing this long enough that I covered a homicide, which I later found out was my youngest son's friend growing up.
Oh, wow.
But you don't know that at the time, because you don't have but you're reporting on it. And all of a sudden, I get a call from my son. Hey, were you over at? Yep. And it was his childhood friend.
Wow.
And I knew that was going to happen. That's when like I said, that's when you've been doing this a while. And I figured that was going to eventually happen. It has to, where the number one rule in news is don't become the news.
No.
And that's what you try not to do. And when it's close to home like that, like the helicopter going down, we just had the anniversary of the news chopper that collided midair.
Yeah.
I got sent a voice message from the assistant news director. He was going through old footage as the anniversary was coming in. I was there shortly after the crash. It happened right around the corner from the station. And I must have been feeding back to the station, or I must have been recording, and they kept the clip, but you could hear me making a phone call to my mom in a broken voice, say, hey, the news chopper went down. I just want to let you know I wasn't in it.
It wasn't me. Yeah.
I wasn't in it. It didn't dawn on me until a reporter walked up to me at the time, and she started crying like, oh my God, like she thought she saw a ghost. She thought I was in the chopper because they asked who it was. We used to switch up.
Yeah.
And they thought I was in the chopper. It was unknown who was in it at the time because Bruce was on vacation. And what happens was whoever was closest to the hangar would go there, and that's who was getting in the chopper.
And then you think about that after the fact. I'm sure you did this. How close was it to me being in that chopper?
I was at Mighty Mud Mania. And if you guys remember, Mighty Mud Mania was always held at Chaparral Park.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that I happened to make it to the station, walked in, and I saw that. I go, oh, a chase. And that's what it was. It was a chase. And they were about to go live, and it went to black. And we had this person in Capture. Capture is what records all our feeds in.
Right.
He put out this loud screech, and I already knew what that was. And I just ran. I got in my car, went to Indian School Park, and I tried getting there. They would not let me close. They knew I was with Channel 3. They knew it was a Channel 3. And so I'm calling them back like, this is not good. And it was in there. And it wasn't until somebody came up to me and thought that it was me that it was in there. I said, I better call my mom.
Yeah.
She's going to see this on the news, and she's going to probably be thinking the same thing, or she's going to probably call. I said, I better call and let them know that it wasn't me. Spread the word. I can't talk right now. But those are the times where you then become the news. Yeah. Like the news was us at that time. And since then, we're not allowed in the choppers anymore. As a matter of fact, we share one now with everybody else. Everyone
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, it's just a common one.
It's a shared
chopper. Just
it's a third party that they hired, and everybody pays for it. and they all have to vote on, hey, are we going to send the chopper up? And now we have drones.
Oh, that's really
And
good.
drones help out now as far as gathering and have that set in. But the way I can't even go in a hot air balloon anymore.
You can't.
No, unless it's tethered. And even then we need permission on it. Where before, I remember Brad and I, we had this hot air balloon that every Friday morning, we'd start out of school. Kids would come around, gather around. We do one live shot with the kids around us. And the rest of the morning we were up in the air until the balloon landed. Sometimes we'd land in the middle of neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. But we did that we can't do that anymore.
Okay, I got to stop you for a second because we were talking before we started this, and I'm going to direct you back to this because it's great. You just mentioned Brad. Talk to us about how you first ended up getting on the air yourself as opposed to being behind the camera.
I owe it all to him. I tell him that. I tell everybody who knows that there would be no me in front of the camera if it wasn't for Brad Perry. I'll tell you, I was his glorified babysitter. My job was to take care of this guy. When he got to us.
And he's a great guy. We love him.
When he got to us, he had trained at Second City out of Chicago.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
Yeah, he said he knew my dad out of Chicago.
Well, he was more out of film. He was like a film guy. He knows the Wayans brothers.
Yeah.
Like he was more of a film guy. And then they gave him this job because he had interned at WGN. Mm-hmm. But the same guy who put me in front of the camera put Brad in. He goes, we need something like this for this morning show.
Yeah.
And Brad he didn't go to school to be a weatherman, but he was an entertainer. And so his job was to go to the station, put the maps together, then make it out to our live shot. Well, sometimes it would be further than he had time for. So the producer said, man, I'm not going to wait for him. Gib, I need you to get in front of the camera, tell people Brad is on his way, and give them the first look at weather. Well, I got a producer in my ear telling me today's the high of 95. Today's the high of 95 with a low of 86. With a low of 86, I know nothing about weather. And I'm listening to my producer tell me, oh, by the way, Brad Perry's on his way. He'll be here in the next 5 minutes. Here's what we're going to show you. So it became this running joke that if people saw me on camera, it was because Brad's late again. Oh, Brad's late again. And it happened a lot. And so the funny part is he and I were not close when we first started because I couldn't believe that they brought a guy in who didn't know how to do news. But we grew together. He's now probably my older brother, I would say. I was the oldest of three, but he is now like my older brother, and he goes to church with me at Impact. So I get to see him on Sundays.
Fantastic.
We don't get to see each other during the week because we're busy, but we see each other on Sundays.
That's awesome.
And he waits, and I minister over at church now. I run the main camera over at Impact, and he waits for everybody to go by. He knows I'm going to be sitting at my post there. And he comes over and he gives me a hug every Sunday morning. So I get to see him then. And, he's doing well. He wanted to come back to 3TV, and I wish there was space that we could do things. The stuff that we did together was just amazing. We made magic on TV, and the stories we have are endless. We were stuck in Jamaica for 9/11.
Oh, no
really?
kidding.
We were stuck in Jamaica. Jamaica Airlines had a nonstop flight. They had started a nonstop flight from Phoenix straight to Jamaica. And they sent Brad and I there. And our job was to show off a different resort every day of the week. We started in Ocho Rios, over to all the way up, right?
You guys
all the way
hated that one, didn't you?
So here's the funny part on this. Well, on the second day, when 9/11 happened, we were on the golf course getting a golf tip.
Yeah.
When this happened, they told everybody who was there was a group of media people from all over the country, and they said, hey, the government shut down the airports. You can either go to the airport and wait for them to reopen, or we can go to these different resorts. You guys could tape whatever you want, and we'll use them when it's more appropriate. Because at that time,
that's all
they're like, we're not,
was.
they weren't going to be showing that.
Yeah.
Well, wouldn't you know, everybody else wanted to wait at the airport, where Brad and I just kept moving on. We went to every resort and it was surreal because it was the first time I think we realized how other countries, when you're in a place like Jamaica and there are people from all over the world, the way they viewed the U.S. at that time.
Yeah.
And to hear their stories was eye-opening because you never thought of it that way.
Well, give us an example.
Well, there was this these folks from Germany were like, this is no surprise. You know, big bad America thinks that they can turn around and be who they are. Right? Now they're bringing it to their doorstep. Them always get involved in people's business. Well, here it is, and you're looking at them like, are you serious? Like, why? You know, for them, the people from Germany still thought that Arizona was the Wild Wild West. They thought we were still on horseback, carrying guns. Like, to hear them explain it, like they really thought that was the case. Yeah. They thought there were some places in Arizona where all we did was ride horses and we had guns with us. And, you know, it brought up a good debate and it brought up good conversation because it always went back to how much have we helped, and have we helped more than we hurt?
Right.
And they never really had an answer for that because the answer was yes. Yeah, we did. Yeah. And we'll continue to help out those who are in need, and we'll continue to be that way. But you didn't realize that was the case. You didn't realize that when you saw their attitudes towards it, because it's brand new. It's happening. We're watching it on a screen, and we're seeing everything that's happening. And no one knew what was going to happen at that time. They didn't know where we were going to go with that. You have to remember the airport shut down. There's no flying in. We didn't know how much longer we're going to be in there. We didn't know how it was going to happen or what the next move was going to be.
And they just recently made the rule where you don't have to take your shoes off anymore.
Yeah.
They did?
Just recently.
I took my shoes off to Poland.
Since then.
Yeah.
Really?
They changed it up because of the technology. They were able to, and then me, I went and got global entry, clear. I doing all that because if you travel, I'd rather not take any of that off, and you don't want to put your computer out of your bag. I'm here. We're walking right through this line. Those are eye openers, you know, and through this job, though, I will tell you the one thing that I always tell people, and I feel bad for the young kids now because we don't get to do this anymore. We are now owned by a company that owns 137 TV stations across the country in small markets. So when something happens, they're not quick to send somebody. We'll just, if we have a station there, they'll do it for us.
Okay.
But back then, we did it ourselves. And I remember Dan Davis. I traveled the world with Dan Davis. Korean Airlines started a nonstop flight. We went to Japan, Seoul, Korea, and Hong Kong, all on the dime of Korean Airlines because they had a new nonstop flight from Phoenix to East Asia, and you're in there. Yeah. Lufthansa started their nonstop flight. So here we are for Oktoberfest. We're in Munich. We went to Frankfurt. We went to Berlin.
Where haven't you been yet, Gibby?
And those are in right after Princess Diana died. We were over in London doing live shots in front of Kensington Palace. Almost got arrested because you need a permit to go live in front of the Kensington. Like, who would have thought, right? I don't know if you guys have watched when Rolf used to be on our show. Rolf was a hairstylist. Yes. Okay, well, Rolf was there in London because there was this, I guess every so often, there's these huge hair and makeup shows. And it happened to be in London this year. He heard we were there. He paid for us to stay longer. Here we are in the middle of Trafalgar Square doing makeovers. People who didn't know. We had this one gal from Russia who had this long, beautiful blonde hair, and he chopped it off. He bobbed it up. And,
those guys are avant-garde. Like, you want something different.
But at the time, those were the dues at that time, because I remember we went to that hair show, and do you remember the Rodman haircut that he had that looked like a cheetah?
Yes.
That you remember?
Yeah, sure.
It was first shown there at this show. We went to this show. There was a giraffe / cheetah / and there were these people walking around with these hairdos. I'm like, that's not going to stick. A couple of years later, here's Dennis Rodman walking around. I go,
leave it to Rodman.
I saw that cut. I saw the inventor of that cut. They won a prize for, so I've been blessed. With Arizona's family in the things that I've had a chance to do, and I've had to experience. This kid from Yuma, born to migrant parents who, believe me, got to see this world all through the eyes of then sharing it with everybody else. And that, I think, brought me more joy than anything, because I got to, whatever I was experiencing there, you were seeing it through my eyes. And there were my eyes that said, hey, this is what I thought is important for you. And I would just, that's, to me, doing that, going on 32 years, I'm telling you, it still doesn't feel like a job to me.
They say you don't work a day in your life if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. right?
And I've always said that. My mom told me that one day, and it was funny because I thought she was going to be upset with me. I left on Mother's Day for my second job. I was working in Yuma at the time, but they called me to go work down in Tucson, KOLD. And I left on Mother's Day. She never let me forget it. She goes, you left me on Mother's Day. And me being the oldest, it was the first time one of her kids went in. I said, look, I promise I'm going to go to school while I'm over there. I started going to U of A, but I didn't realize that when you got into bigger markets, you traveled. And I was traveling with U of A at the time. And back then with Lute Olson, they were such a big deal that we were traveling that I kept wasting money. I would miss classes because I was always out of town traveling. Finally, the sportscaster said, what are you doing? I go, man, I got to find a career. He goes, you're in one. I go, this is playtime. Like, this isn't a career to me. Like, this is playtime. He goes, no, bro, people go to school for this and you are already in a media market. You are way ahead of folks at the time. And I was only 19, 20 at the time. I started here in January of 94. I had just turned 21. And the same happened here. As soon as I got here, we hit the ground running. I mentioned some of the stories that we covered, whether it was the OJ trial. I mean, if there was something that happened in the last 30 years, I'm going to say 20 something because they kind of stopped sending us. I think the last one was the Maui fires. The Maui fires. Ian was there for that, and we sent another crew. I don't do those anymore. I let all the youngsters take care of those now. It's hardly ever they give. Do you want to? I'm good. You know what I mean? But Hurricane Katrina. There's so many things that I got to cover and be a part of that. It's made me a better person. It made me understand, what this world was like, and I wouldn't have known that. Because, when you come from a small town, you know that and you understand that, but you don't understand, man, there's life out here. Yeah. There's life and it changes and it's different, good and bad, but it's to be able to see that and to say, hey, you know what? I want to take a trip back over here because I went for work, but I found some great spots that we could turn around and go back to later. So like scouting trips now. So whenever I get to go on trips like that, I call them scouting trips. I scout out places to go back and revisit, which has been great.
So if you had to pick a place here to get a sandwich before we wrap it up, where would you go to get a sandwich? I think we were talking about this today.
Well, John's. John's is my place. Rinaldi's, John's AE over at Rinaldi's is probably a place where I turn around. And he reminds me too, by the way. Anytime he sees that I'm live in his area, he goes, you're stopping by, right? I go, yeah, but I'm not going to eat your breakfast burritos, John. I'm going to eat your sandwich. I always tell him that. Now, he has awesome breakfast burritos. He'll tell you as much, and Bolivia makes it great.
He's got great
salsa,
food overall.
Yeah, great.
But he does me right. He always takes care of me. John's my guy. But it's so funny because, honestly, it is hard to find places, right? There's also the Miracle Deli, Josh, down there.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys ever met him.
No.
Great story. They used to be downtown. They also have, but John is my guy though. That guy, he's the dude who he's always watching. And anytime he knows I'm in the neighborhood, if I don't stop by, I'm getting yelled at. I'm getting a little text like, you're in my neighborhood, right? Yes, John, I know I'm in your neighborhood. You got to stop by. I go, hold on a second, because there's times where, man, it's heavy. It's heavy sometimes, and you got to be like, I need a brisket sandwich. Yeah, I need to go in, and I'm going to go hang out with you. My picture's there. You want to go see my picture? He made me give him a picture. It was one of the first ones that I gave to.
We should be printing out a picture right now and having Gibby sign it.
Yeah, that's it. And oh man, I think the only one I got was like 10 years ago, and it doesn't even look like me. And people are like, "Can you get him?" I go, "No, I've never asked for headshots." It was kind of weird.
I think I posted one of you. It looks like you.
Oh yeah, that's a headshot. That's the one.
Like you.
I think that's the last headshot I took from the station.
Did you get a picture of your hair colored?
That I did not. Well, you know what? My mom, they probably have it somewhere. Someone has it somewhere. There might even be a live shot posted when I had it in there.
Send that to me so we can add it to the podcast.
You'll see, he definitely had darker hair right there. I don't know what he was thinking. I think my brother did a good job, though. It was all right.
That's awesome.
You get as is. You getting this as is.
And we love as is.
Not changing. It's not it.
I'm right there with you now.
And believe me, when you see me, I am who I am. It's okay to say hi because you're getting this.
Gibby, we can't thank you enough for this. You're really you're a blessing to the entire state with the work that you do and bringing your faith to it. And we really appreciate you being here with us. We hope to have you back sometime.
Thank you. I would love it. I mean, this is definitely a pleasure. I know I don't get to see you guys as much. I think it's been what? It's years.
It's been a couple of years at least.
Like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, it's been years. But honestly, I watch you guys from afar. Thanks to social media, I do get to keep an eye on you guys to make sure you guys are in
post
there.
about everything.
No, it's all good. And you should be able to, right? I mean, come on now. Good or bad, it is what it is. Like I said, folks, there's a lot of things that they probably aren't going to like about me, and that's fine with me. I'm okay with it because I'm okay with myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you have to be.
That's great. Your heart,
Yes, I know where my heart is, and those who know me know where my heart is.
Beautiful.
And so, faith, family, and friends like that, when they go in order like that, work itself, I'm telling you, I do not feel like I work. And Arizona's family, we are Arizona's family.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. Those people you see on air, I can almost guarantee you they are like that in person because
Love to hear
it's
that.
the only thing that keeps us going.
As
soon as they stop that and you see like, Gibbs not working there anymore. That's why. They stopped doing it. If I stop working there, it's because it became a job and I'm not working.
That's great.
Well, thanks for joining us at Cross Examine with the Gerbers. And don't forget, if you're injured or you need a personal injury attorney, Gerber Injury Law. We are in the Valley and we would love to hear from you. But I hope you don't get hurt.